In this video, I'm going to show you 4 common mistakes that producers make when writing melodies that cause their melodies to sound bad or just lack emotion. And I'm also going to show you how to avoid making these mistakes so that you can make melodies that cement into the souls of your listeners for a lifetime and keep them coming back to your music for more. The first mistake I see is making your melodies out of thin air, or in other words, not starting with chords or anything to harmonize with. When you make melodies without chords, because there's no harmony, it's hard to connect with the melody emotionally, and you will not be as effective at picking strong notes. Before you even think about writing a melody, think about the purpose and the emotion that you're going for when you start a song, and then try to establish that emotion with a set of chords first. So let's say I want to come up with something upbeat and dancey. So what I'm going to do is just start with a set of chords, and we end up with this sound. That sounds upbeat and dancey. Now I'm ready to start playing around with melodies. Listen to the first half. So I'm just going to keep matching the energy of the chords. Use the energy of the chords. You really can't mess this up. Then we get this. That melody works. And if we add some synths and drums, that sounds hot. Here's the next mistake I see people make when writing melodies, and that is hitting weak notes. A problem I see with beginner songwriter musicians is that just because a set of notes is in the scale or in key, that you can freely use these notes, but that is not the case. When you're writing melodies, be mindful of when you're using the 6th or the 2nd note in the minor scale, or the 4th and the 7th note in the major scale. These notes prefer to only play with certain chords, while the rest of the notes in the scale will work with any chord. Let me show you what I mean. Here's a set of chords in a minor scale, and now here's a melody that doesn't use the 2nd or the 6th note. The notes sound good, they work. Watch this. If I pick an open spot in this melody, every chord, let's just use the C, and we just add it, it'll work. Sticks out a little bit, but it works, it sounds alright. That could work as like a counter melody or something. If I take another note, like the 5, the 5th note of the scale, it sounds good. That note would totally work in an arrangement. But watch this. Just because the 6 is in key, on paper, this should sound good. Doesn't that sound horrible? It just sounds so bad. Now check this out. If we move it to the 2, 2 isn't as bad as the 6. It's easier to use than the 6, but it's still kind of weird at times. In this case, I think it works on the first 2 chords and the last chord. The middle one just kind of sounds a little dissonant. That kind of weird. You could still use that note on that chord, but not every situation would that note sound good. So when you're writing melodies, be mindful of when you're using the 2 and the 6 in the minor scale and the 4 and 7 in the major scale, because you may run into some awkward musical situations. This next mistake is overcomplicating your melodies. Melodies don't have to be complicated or complex to be good. In fact, the more complicated a melody is, the less likely it is that your listeners will even be able to remember it. I can't tell you how many times I've been sent songs that had melodies that sound like this. There's no direction. There's no hook in this melody. It's just a lot of stuff coming at you. That's not good. If you think you have trouble writing strong melodies, do this. Figure out what scale you're in and then just put a note on that tonic. In my case, I'm in F sharp major. And then just write a rhythm, not even a melody. So I'm gonna do dotted eighth notes all the way across like this. And then we get this sound. Next, just move the notes around into some simple, repetitive melody and make the best simple melody that you can. You know what? I'm not even gonna do the second half. I'm just gonna repeat this. Most people can't even do this. You have to get good at this first before you add complexity to your melodies. I hate that word. We can resolve the second half and make it a B section. Now, yes, this melody is simple, but you can still make a decent hook to a song with it. You can still make songs with it. Check this out. And with some more instruments, we get this. Just simple and cheesy, but it's fun. And if you can't do that, you can't do anything more complex than that because it'll sound weird. Here's the last tip, and this is the #1 thing that ruins most melodies, and it's called rhythmic displacement. And this is by far the #1 thing that people get wrong. A melody is a rhythm. It's not just notes. You need just as much attention on the rhythm of your melody as the notes that you pick. When you're writing melody, you have to be mindful of these grid lines. These thicker grid lines with whole numbers are called downbeats. The lines in the middle of each of these whole numbers are called upbeats. In between downbeats and upbeats, we have offbeats. Each of these beat terms play a significant role in the rhythm of a melody. Downbeats have the strongest significance in a beat, upbeats have the second strongest significance in a beat, and then offbeats have the weakest significance in a beat. So when you're writing melodies, it matters where each phrase of your melody starts and ends. Let me show you what this means. Let's write a melody using eighth notes. See how this melody works? Like, I don't care if you like this melody, it works. And it works because its pattern of 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 makes sense in my brain. Now watch this. Here's the same melody with dotted eighth notes. Or in other words, that first melody had notes that were 1/8 the size of a bar, but this time we're gonna add 50% of the length on each of these notes. Listen to the syncopation as it rides with the hi-hats. And notice with this melody, there's still a cohesive rhythm. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. The math just works. So that's all pretty cool, but here's where mistakes are made. In most modern music, I'm talking hip-hop music, pop music, and electronic music, we write songs in the time signature of 4/4. This means that the loops in our song, like our drum loops, melody loops, chord loops, bass loops, are gonna be 4 bars long or some multiple of 4, and then want to resolve and restart. This means that each bar of that melody has an expected pattern that it wants to follow. And the significance of that rhythm starts on the first bar of the melody. So if this is the first part of my melody, our listener is expecting the second bar of this melody to rhythmically work with the first. It doesn't mean we have to copy the rhythm of the first, although that would work. It just means that this second bar now, its rhythm matters. Here's where things are done wrong. One of the best responses to this first bar of rhythm is just to copy the rhythm. But watch what happens when we start on this really weak offbeat here, and then we add some random note here. And I want you to pay attention to how the melody loops and the rhythm just kind of sounds a little weird. Hear how it's just broken? Like, it's weird, and it never just ends there either. I'm telling you, I listen to thousands of amateur productions. Sometimes you'll have a melody that starts off good with a dominant rhythm that makes sense, and then this happens. The melody just like breaks apart and loses its beautiful cohesive rhythm that you did in the first half. When you're writing melodies, make sure the melody rhythmically makes sense. And as always, if you are bad at rhythm, just keep the rhythm simple, and you really can't mess this up. So that's a video for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like more help with music theory, chord writing, and melody writing, make sure to check out my premium courses below this video. My courses come with access to all my premium content as well as my inner circle, so you can ask me questions as you move through the courses. If that sounds like something that interests you, like I said, check out the links below, and I will see you in the next video.